All right. Hello. This is Kyle Van Hook, and I am here to show the final build, well, the final project and the build of game programming's third 3D game. This one called Phantom Recon Omega Force Heroes. All right. So first, I'm gonna start off, at least in the editor, showing that the game starts once it loads. All right. Uh, so to show this. We have a starting screen. We can press the enter on the keypad. Yeah, and enters. We have a credit screen, which shows the game, all the stuff where everything came from. I made the start screen, and the skybox texture was made by me. The game models were from Kinney NL, and the sounds were from a mix of Kinney NL and Pixabay. We can go to this other one, which is controls, and it basically shows all the controls for the game. You can move backwards and forwards using W and D, and S is to turn left and right. Q and E are to roll left and right. Z and X are to pitch up and down. O and L is to increase and decrease the camera zoom, and space bars to shoot. If I hit exit, it will cancel out of the game. So let's start that up again. And we have an intro to just tell players what they're going to do. Welcome, brave pilot. You have been assigned to rescue a stranded crew of astronauts floating in the vacuum of space. We don't know how many of them there are, but it is your duty to save them all. And as we start, we have basic gameplay. We can turn left and right. We can move backwards and forwards. We can roll left. We can roll right. We can pitch up. All right, good. And we can pitch down. And if we press O, the camera zooms in. It has a limit. Same thing for L. It has a limit. Now, about the whole game. The game has a win condition. And the win condition is to grab all of the astronauts in a level. The astronauts, well, at least there's only 4 astronauts, or there were 4 astronauts in a level. And that was to make sure that there was always at least some win condition that it spawned in the level. This was because due to the assignment parameters, the spawning had to be random. And I think this was the last time's score. Anyways, the spawning had to be random for basically everything. For the meteors, the barrels, and the astronauts themselves. The little meteorites could be spawned, but they haven't been added to the pool yet, or at all. They were just there to make it a little bit easier, but so one of the issues with the game is there's no guarantee that that any of the astronauts will spawn. There'll at least be one spawn, but it's probably not going to be an astronaut. It might be a barrel, or will most likely be a be a UFO. So in order to make sure there's at least a minimum amount of gameplay, I added like 4 astronauts that are there standard. Anyways, I don't think. What else do we need? Basic gameplay. Oh yeah. Let's restart. I can show first and foremost, like before. Yeah, like. Whoops, we died. I was gonna show you that, like, over there's 6 astronauts there. Those guys weren't there before, so they did spawn in. They were one of the random spawns. And so are these UFOs over here. And I just want to show that if we shoot one, they will die. And if we run into one, they will die as well. Oh, there's more than one. I think I already showed that if we run into a wall or any of the pillars or the box there, we will also die. The meteorites won't kill us, but they do damage to us. Because we run into them, and it hurts. Come on, let me get a whole load of them. I just want to show you that they can kill you. Okay, cool. That one was a double hit. So it does kill us. Let's see, what else? Gameplay show dies in position with objects. Camera smoothly follows player. Offset substance. We've done that. So I've showed the basic things. I should also show that we have a high score here, and this has been keeping track from like the other playthroughs and test playthroughs I've done. So if I were to press this button, it will reset the high score, and then we can go back and we can play. And now our high score is 0. So we can, I don't know, maybe hit a few people, grab one of these astronauts, suffer an untimely death by crash landing into a cube and going wildly out of control. You know what? Let's kill a few astronauts. Let's kill a few of these guys. And I don't know. Once more, kamikaze. All right. This time, our high score is 10. If we were to exit, start again, or yeah, start again. Come on. Press enter. Start. Actually, this might be the best time to do this. Grab one of you to show there's score. All right. I can show you that the score does stay between game sessions, but since this is a session where we actually have health barrels, I've gotten hit at least once. I'm going to collide into this one, and you will see it destroys, it refills my health. So that works. That's wonderful. And I just undid that. Oh yeah, also, I didn't mention it, we do have lives up in the upper right. The score is in the upper left, and the HP bar is in the lower left. And as you can see, we only had 3 score, so our high score does not get updated. But our high score does stay the same between exiting the game and playing sessions. So that works. Let's see. You've basically been seeing that we have user interface. Show that score health, astronaut health arrows pick, those work. I've shown the high score. I should at least, however, start showing the code, because that's important. So what do I need? What should I get started on? I think actually. All right. Interface pickup. All right. I guess starting with the code for the 2 health pickup, to the 2 pickups, the astronaut and the health barrel. This is the AddHealth. This is the code that is on the health barrel, and it simply detects whether or not there is a collision with an object, detects if the other object has a health component, and then if the other health component does not equal null, and if current health is less than the current health's max health, we're going to play an audio source play a clip at point, and it's just a pickup sound. We're going to do heal for the heal amount, which is a public int up here for the actual object, and then we're going to destroy this object. And prefabs, I can find a prefab. Here we are. Let me move this to the left, and then going towards, here we are. Add health. It basically, each barrel will heal 5 HP. That can be changed whenever. Barrel and pretty much most objects also have an area limit, which keeps the oh yeah, I have to show that. It keeps any object that has that from going out of the level boundary. AddScore is a bit different. So I guess I should first go over just the collision itself. It's very similar. But first, we're checking if the collided object is a shit pawn, and if it does not equal null, we'll basically play an audio source. We will, in the game manager instance, we're going to increase the score by the score amount, and then we're going to destroy this object. Now, that's basically how it is. It's very simple. The other part is, in the game manager, there is a list called Astronauts List, and on start, any object that has AddScore will be added to the Astronauts list. Now, I probably could make a simple code that basically just says astronaut or something, and then add it to an astronaut list, just for the sole purpose of making sure anything that has this does not get added. But this is the only object that adds a score via pickup, or the astronaut is, and there's no reason to make anything else right now. So this was the simplest and easiest. So on start, it will add that to the list, and on destroy, it will remove this object from the astronauts list. Game manager, I have so much crap here. All right. See, we have some leftover stuff. We do track player lives, we track score. We have an add score list for astronauts list. We do keep track of the game max floats, which we get from the level data. We're making sure only one happens. We're having background music play. I could probably get rid of that, but that's fine. They won't. The debug log won't appear in the final build. But also, that's more or less how pickups work in health. Game. We should also probably talk about how do you define a complete game. A complete game can be defined in any way that, well, I don't think we ever went over that in class, but a completed game is probably a game that has an objective or a goal. Without the objective or goal, we can't end the game unless we were to forcefully manually close it, like having an escape key. So we need to figure out what is the game over and the win condition. Well, for game over, we want to check if the player's lives are ever equal to or less than 0. If they are equal to or less than 0, we will go to game over, the game over function in the game manager. And in the game manager, we're going to do two things. First, we're going to check if the current score of the game is greater than the player prefs float HighScore. We're using player prefs as this was, again, the easiest that I could find in research to store an object, to store a value between levels, and between closing a game, shutting up, and restarting it, and opening it up again. It will basically make a file in wherever the game is saved, or the game object, and make a file of HighScore that will store the integer. From what I could tell, this is good for like simple things, like maybe lives and score or rings or stuff like that. It's good for simple things, but it's not good for like maybe complex save data. This is my first foray, so probably have to learn how to save something later. But if it's if the score is bigger than the value saved for HighScore, we're going to set the player HighScore's player prefs, set the float to HighScore to the new score. Then we're going to go down to the scene manager and load the game over scene. And likewise, if we go to the win section here, what defines the win? Because before we set this up, the only way to really end the game was to either die or escape out of it. Well, from how we set it up, we want the astronauts to be a big part of it. We've made it, or at least I've made it, so that there's always at least some astronauts that will be in the game so that they can be collected and they'll be added to the list. If we did not do this, there would be no real way other than destroying all objects in a scene, all enemy objects or all meteorites, or just making certain there were no astronauts in the scene. But that comes the issue. If there aren't any astronauts in the scene as the game starts, well, let's take an instance of the spawning. The spawning for the spawn points is it will randomly choose from a random number from a list of spawn points, and then it will spawn instantiate a number of them. That can be as big as 1 to the whole list. And the problem is that those lists don't always have astronauts in them. So if we didn't have an astronaut in the level, and we set the win condition to collecting all the astronauts and checking if those astronaut objects have been destroyed, then immediately as the player opened up the game, they would immediately win because nothing spawned there. And this could be random. And it's funny, but that's not good game design. So we need to make a way, we need to make sure that the game has a chance to actually play and win, equal to also losing. So with a few astronaut objects already manually placed in the game, we're going to check the astronauts list count and see if it equals 0, 0. And if it does, we are going to go to the win game. And the win game is pretty much the same as game over. We're going to check the score, see if it's higher than HighScore, update the HighScore if it is higher, and then we're going to load the scene to the win scene. Oh, well, I've also technically shown the HighScore, but there really isn't that much code for the HighScore because we're storing stuff in player preferences. So I've already shown that, but I could show at least how the HighScore UI works. So in the UI, we basically have this separate because we're going to have HighScore in 2 separate places. So we can add this to a canvas, and then we're going to get a text, public TMP text, which will be a HighScore text, the number at least. Well, actually, no, it's just the whole text because we didn't make 2. We're going to on start, basically on start of the scene and update. We are going to go to HighScore update, and we're going to set the HighScore text to HighScore plus player preference get float HighScore dot to string. This will basically set the float integer or string value of the player prefs to a string and make it so they can be in this format. Here, player. There was another part of this. Oh yes, there is another part of the HighScore. I figured UI manager. There you are. Update score thing. No, I don't think this is it. We're constantly checking the current player lives. No, it's in menu control. Okay, here we are. This is the other part of the score of the HighScore, and this was in the off chance that maybe we wanted to restart the HighScore. In which case, uh, the button has the button right next to HighScore in both the win and the game over screens has a method on reset score click. When clicked, we'll basically get the player prefs set float HighScore and set it to 0, essentially resetting the entire HighScore. Uh, what else? Because I think we've gone over the definition of done. I still need to show you the build, basic gameplay. Pickups, the pawn and controller. I don't think I showed this. Well, I did show this once, but I did not show the whole thing, or at least not correctly. So let's start with the pawn. This is the pawn sub pawn superclass. It has it's basically the parent class for any other pawn objects that we're going to be making. It has several components: a health component, death component, rigid body, and a shooter comp if it needs it. For the header movement, it has variables for the thrust speed, the rotate value, the pitch value, the roll value, and the launch value. Well, technically, I don't think the launch is the launch. Ah, well, I'll have to remake this, or at least the build, because I don't really want the player to be able to rise. Hmm, but that's fine. So, going from the pawn, we go over to the actual child class, the ship pawn, which has all of the objects, the components. Uh, so, for this section, we're checking if the rigid body, if the linear velocity's magnitude is bigger than 3, we're going to set the actual gravity on the ship to true. And we did adjust it a little bit to set the gravity to -5 downwards. This one, this value seemed good enough to give the object like some pull as it's flying. And if it is not bigger than 3, if the magnitude is not bigger than 3, we're just going to turn the gravity off. The reason we have this was because we didn't really know how, or I didn't really know how flying should work. Do we want there to be weight? Do we want this to be weightless? So we kind of put it at least a little bit so it has a little bit of gravity when moving. In the move forward and move backwards, we're getting the forward vector and we're multiplying it by the thrust speed and the time delta. We're doing time delta. That way, movement is not tied to a frame rate, so it's smooth. Uh, for this section here, we're adding force to the forward vector, and this is just to actually move it forward. the rigid body add force underneath it is we're doing a transform up. This is in order as it's actually moving, and the button or whatever button we've assigned to move forward, in this case W, actually keeps it moving upwards as it's flying. Enough that it's not immediately like skyrocketing, but it is staying aloft. And move backwards is basically the same, except that we're just getting the opposite forward vector for the add force. For the rotate, we only really needed one rotation or one method for this, because we can just change the value that's being added to change the rotate value. So if we wanted to rotate, well, we also probably could have done negative up. Though I wonder if that caused an issue. But anyways, for the vector.3 up, we're multiplying it by the rotate value times delta, and then we're just doing a rotate to the right vector and on the space itself. We're doing the same to pitch, except for the right value, for the right vector. We're rotating. That way it will pitch up and down. The roll, we're doing the same, but for the forward, yeah, rotate up. That way it turns left and right. Roll, that way it moves like a barrel. Rise, this was basically during the actual testing of gravity and stuff. Sometimes during the game, or at least when we were first getting started, it was actually hard to control the character and actually get speed or air time. So it just made something that would make the character rise up, and this was never taken out. In the controller subclass, or not superclass, not subclass, this is the parent, we only really have two things. We have a public pawn, which will be the pawn that we'll be controlling, and we have a make decisions method. Into the child class of controller, we have a ship controller, which has a public camera that we added because we needed some way to actually get the camera to follow the ship. It will constantly be updating by making decisions, and then depending on the value that is used, say these both control the move forward and move backwards. Pawn forward will use thrust speed, and then pawn back will just use thrust speed. These were before I discovered you could just change the rotate value, change whatever value by adding a -1. That way you don't have to worry about changing the value as long as it's positive. But rotate left, we'll get the rotate value and multiply by -1. Rotate right, we'll just get the rotate value. Pitch up, we'll do the same, but with the pitch value -1. Pitch down, pitch left. A lot of this is simple. We're just getting codes and then getting a call to the pawn to do one of the methods that's in there. As this is basically what you do in controller. You control the object from the controller, and all the methods are in the pawn or the pawn class or character that you're going to be have the controller control. We do have a shoot projectile, which works when you press spacebar, and the O and L up change the camera offset, and we ended up having to do this. Originally, the camera offset was not in the controller class; it was in the I think follow player. It was in the follow player. Yeah, it was in here. Originally, the key, actual key button presses were in here, but wanted to move that over here, just so it's in the same controller. And in order to actually get to the get to the follow player for the camera, we have to get a reference to the camera, and then we have to get the component. And then we can just do the method to either decrease the offset or increase the offset. One thing. So, I think there's only really two important things. One is showing. Let's press enter and actually start. So we've already started, or at least moved, but I wanted to at least show that we do have a limit. Test scene. It's not what I want. Craft speeder. All right. It is a bit buggy. I think that's because power is going off on my computer. So let's plug it in. But I want to at least show the X, Y, and Z values for the position, because it's important to at least show you, at least in the Z, we can't go past 100Z, and we can't go past 100Y. We can continually be at 100Y. So we do have area limits, and it's in the level. It's set up in the level data. It's then grabbed into the game instance manager, and then it's then set into an area, the AreaLimit code, to basically constantly be checking. Down here, where are you? AreaLimit. It's basically constantly checking this object and making sure it's not going past the positions for y, for whatever y and whatever extra z, depending on where it is. In hindsight, I probably should have made not level data, well, maybe level data, an instance or singleton. That way we can always get get the current position of an object, or position of it, and then also get the level data of this current level, because that would be easy to not have to go through the game manager, since we're already getting an object from a singleton. But this works, and that's another thing to think about when making a new game. But as you can see from the area limit, we can't go above 100 units. We can't go past these past 100 on X, Y, and Z. We don't really have to worry about the floor, because the floor will act as a kill barrier if we touch it, as we see. And I don't know if I've managed to show you, I might have already shown you, but I would like to show you the win condition, or the win screen, for winning the game. And congratulations, you saved all the astronauts. Your score has been updated to HighScore. HighScore 15. We can press exit there. Now, we're almost done. I've taken up half an hour of your time, but I do want to show that we have made an actual build, and it works. Asthma. A bit stretched, but it does. If we press enter, we can go to the next screen. If we press exit, it closes out of the game. We can go to the credits and the controls and start the game. Again, it's always random, which is fine. We got like 2 barrels and 2 extra astronauts. because they spawned like right there, and there's 2 over there. I don't really like the random spawns unless it's like a guaranteed spawn. Oh yeah. Also, the editor and the actual build they're basically 2 separate things. So this was a high score from just testing it. We can reset it, but to at least show you that it works, we have a build. Hello. What else? Complete game, high score, pawn controller pickups, your interface. I went over the definition of done. Oh yeah, I actually did not. Okay, this should be the last thing because it's been staring you in the face, but I just haven't mentioned it. Uh, as you can see, we're not moving right now, but there's a skybox. This is a custom skybox that I made. It's okay. It's supposed to be like just lots of little bitty stars. It's better than the old Horizons or like the default Unity skybox. I ended up making a panoramic skybox, adding it to the sky to the lighting renderer. We ended up why do I say we? I made it so that it can kind of rotate and makes it a little bit livelier. We changed the lighting a little bit to make the game a little bit darker. Changed the material on the floor and the obelisks and the square so that they're not as dark, or at least they're not gray. But what I did for what I did above and beyond was basically learning how to make a skybox and change it, because I figured that was the best thing to add to not make it as boring. But yeah, I think that's everything that needed to be shown. The whole game works now on a functional level. Not the best game, but this is starting a 3D game. Uh, Now that's everything. I want to say thank you. This has been an enjoyable class. I hope you have a good day, and goodbye. All right. Yeah, that should be everything. Stop sharing and stop recording.